Um, I'm here seated by some of the representatives of the obedient movement, some of the leaders of our support groups, and some of those who have been driving the cause for good, for the change of narrative, for the birthing of a new Nigeria, and for support of Peter Obi's presidency. By my left is Mazi Ezoke, the co-convener of the Peter Obi Support Network. Next is Dr. Mo Paul, who is also one of our veterans in this journey, driving quite a number of projects to support this cause. We have Princess, who is supporting us actively at the campaign council, and Dixon Irebu, somebody very familiar with all of you. The election draws near. The obedient movement will move to adopt candidates in the gubernatorial, I would say gubernatorial and governorship race in different states, as well as the House of Assembly. And I will dwell a little bit more on that. I'll read this prepared release and then I'll explain further and will provide an opportunity for a Q&A. The obedience movement, the national citizen-led and non-partisan political movement of Nigeria supporting Mr. Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, is pleased to announce that it will carefully consider and extensively consult with stakeholders across the country to announce the adopted governorship and state assembly candidates in states, particularly where the Labour Party doesn't have candidates. The adopted candidates will be chosen because of their track records as honest citizens, their dedication to the welfare of their people, and most importantly, their alignment with the values and principles of the obedience movement, and their public support for the election of His Excellency, Mr. Peter Obi, as the next president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The obedience movement will fully back these candidates in the upcoming governorship and House of Assembly elections, and will work hard to ensure they win as a reciprocal gesture of the support for Mr. Peter Obi. We will be announcing the names of the candidates before the elections, and we will mobilize all our members, supporters, and the general public to come out en masse to vote these candidates on March 11, 2023. We believe that with the right leadership and good governance as espoused by the aspirational and candidacy of Mr. Peter Obi, Nigeria can achieve its full potential and become a prosperous and thriving nation. The obedience movement remains committed to this vision and will continue to work towards its realization. Thank you very much. Now, by way of further explanation, clearly there are many states where we don't have 100% of the candidates. All of these candidates have started making effort moves to support the candidacy of Peter Obi. We want to encourage that. We welcome people who may not be members of Labour Party, who may be members of APC, PDP, SDP, PRP, AA, all of these other parties who decide to be obedient. Being obedient does not necessarily mean being a member of Labour Party. Labour Party is the platform that the obedients are using to push the candidacy of Mr. Peter Obi. However, when we identify those people we consider as comrades, as friends, as supporters, as sympathizers, it's incumbent on the obedient movement to galvanize as a force for good to make sure the right candidates eventually succeed by way of reciprocity. And in the same token, we are carefully watching to see those that will create tensions, violence, any form of, discomfort for the obedient movement in the presidential election. And there will be a payback time. So it's important that this message goes out, and we need to see these candidates come out clearly to identify with us. Speak out, speak up, because we know if you really wish Nigeria well, you have no option. If it means sacrificing your own ambition for us to get Nigeria right, just like Governor Thomas done, has said, that's patriotism. That's what we want to encourage. Come out and tell the world that you are backing the obedient. You may have your presidential candidate and you know it's not good enough for Nigeria. It is okay to focus on the Nigeria's cause than your party's cause. And so we want to encourage everybody that obedient movement, when we consolidate our effort, there's nothing as powerful in this country today as that. And we will use that to make sure the right things are done. We don't want just Nigeria having the right leader at the federal level. We want to see Nigeria have the right leaders at the state and by extension even further to the local government levels. So we are also using this medium to tell the obedient movement, be on the guard, watch out, and at appropriate time, we will engage publicly and privately to see which of these candidates in each of these states we're going to support. And we will come out en masse, and we will use our might, we'll use our force, we'll use our weight to make sure the right things are done. Thank you very much. 2 hours from today, we will check and review the performance of Labour Party at the presidential level in all the states. Easily, the obedience will provide intelligence as to what has happened, and they will identify those who have helped us to make sure we win maximally. We get our 25% spread in some of the states. We also make sure the opponents don't get up to 25%. There are yardsticks we're using to check how we performed. And we will know the role each person has played in actualizing these objectives. And what I also think you probably may mean from your question is, where we have 2 candidates or more supporting us, how do we 0 to 1? And this is where all those other criteria will come to play. Their track record, their character, their competence, and then the public perception, what the people of those states. So we don't want an imposition into any states. We want to make sure that what the public, what the people are already saying, we just simply add impetus to it and make sure that comes to bear. Thank you. Your definition of mobilization. Labour Party's presidential ticket, it is such that you can simply define as divine. What we have done all through the months leading up to today has been organic. It is a combination of many factors, one being a rejection of the old, and 2, that hunger, that quest to build a new Nigeria, and the hope that that new Nigeria is indeed possible. So what you find is, our voters are already self-mobilized. They're already energized. The momentum is very high. And you're going to see turnout. Many diasporans who already started trooping to Nigeria just to vote for P2P. And so what I'm saying to you is that for us, this election is already won. our mandate is to make sure the voters stay vigilant, ready to defend the mandate. And that's why we are going to also be introducing a number of apps to make sure we record everything that happens on that day. Already, you know about the Town Hall app that helps us to organize at the grassroots level. There are other election day apps, and we've also set up all the situation rooms to monitor that everything goes well. For those who continue to doubt, polls after polls have shown that Peter Obi is ahead, and in some cases by miles. Nobody questions that he will win handsomely in the Southeast. The margin we see will shock a lot of people. If any other party put their votes together and it comes up to 5%, they'll be lucky in the Southeast. In the South-South, I can also tell you other parties will struggle to get 25% and they won't. Because Peter Obi is going to dominate every single one of the 6 states in the South-South. In the Southwest, initially prediction was that Asiwaju will win Southwest because that's where he's based. But I'm sure if you check their body temperature in their campaign, they will know that Peter Obi is trending far better than they ever imagined. And so, Nigerians will be shocked that Peter Obi will win Southwest. We've seen that. A poll came out initially to throw up Peter Obi as coming first in Lagos, Ogun State, Oyo, and Ekiti. So people started doubting second in Ondo and Osun State. But I have news for them, that even those places marked as being second are looking very good. Now, if you want to wonder why the case, people again are tired of the status quo and the old order. I think the other parties have done us a massive favor by presenting their candidates. And thankfully, the youths of Nigeria are rising up to the occasion. So, if you have this momentum in the whole of South, then go into North Central, where again people have seen how well we're doing in places like Abuja, where we are today, in Plateau, in Benue, in Nasarawa, and clearly, talking about North Central, and clearly, in places like Kogi, Kwara, and Niger, we are looking sure to get a minimum of 25%. And with all these states I've mentioned so far, that's already 23 states. For those who are also wondering, is it going to get spread? Before you now go to Northeast, where you see Peter Obi doing extremely well in places like Adamawa, in Taraba, in Borno, and in Gombe. And if you bring it to Northwest, good news in Northwest is that everybody is fighting for superiority. Among the 4 candidates, by the way, Peter Obi could win Northwest, Kwankwaso could win Northwest, Atiku could win Northwest, Asiwaju could win Northwest. Beautiful. So let's divide it apart so that Northwest is not useful to any one of us. So that's the plan. The plan here is that Peter Obi will be the only candidate that can win on first instance without any runoff. So for those who are planning for runoff, I think we're going to save you money because there will be no runoff.
Do you have a question?
There's one behind than the vocal ones. Especially when you go to places like the Southwest and the North, where some fear repercussion, attacks, threats, and some have been beneficiaries of some of the people who are on the ballot. But what you find is, if the elderly ones find it difficult to profess, their children are not. And so I heard a beautiful story from a Southwest lady, young girl who is schooling abroad. Picked up her phone, called her dad. Daddy, who are you going to vote for? And the father answered, Tinubu, of course. and said, "Daddy, why?" And he answered, "You know this money I'm using to train you abroad? If not for Ashiwaju." And youngest said, "From today, you cease to pay my school fee." Data-centric organization. We are scientific in our dealings. Yes, we've tested it. A lot of people actually actively confuse people. Actively. So it's not just about ignorance. People actually actively confuse people. Some use some of the assets of the old elections where P2B was under either APGA or PDP to confuse some of the people. However, there have been polls that have come out. Polls that use name and polls that use the party and logos. The good news is that in each of these polls, P2B comes first, Labour Party comes first. But what you find is that when his name is used, the margin is small. So there's a gap. And that gap, there have been a lot of messages, social media and all that. And we're advertising now massively, TV commercials, channels on Arise, on different other channels, on HIP TV. It's all going. But we may never do it enough. So we encourage our voters, as you hear our voices, please do your best to educate everybody. Labour Party, you won't see the name on the ballot. P2B, you won't see his face on the ballot. What you're going to see is the logo of Papa, Mama, Pikin. So you probably may not even see LP. What you're going to see is the logo Papa, Mama, Pikin. So you're going to see forward ever. Take the message. If you're one of those quiet, silent, obedient, take the message to your families, to your homes. It will help us.